bet you were expecting my next review to be the Timeless Children review, weren't you? Well, unfortunately you don't get to listen to me fucking suffer through that shit again yet. Because today, I'm re-reviewing Spyfall Part 1, and you're probably wondering why I'm doing that. First of all, I'm not that happy with the original review. My main issues are with the editing, which by the Series 12 standard reviews, because that one is definitely the weakest. My delivery wasn't really that good because it was my first attempt, and I didn't know the bullshit rules, so loads of the review that is currently up is missing. The quality is fucking dreadful, and the original video got fucking claimed anyway. So I just thought, fuck it, I don't want to rewatch Timeless yet anyway, so I'll just go fix this one. Hope you enjoyed this review, because I sure as shit didn't. We start off by seeing our first glimpse of this story's villain. Well, one of them anyway. And these ones are the Boneless. I mean, well, they're not the Boneless, but this whole dimension hopping seems like it was ripped right out of Flatline. Also, this intro is predictable as shit, and we don't even need these scenes. We should have just started at the title sequence, then cut to seeing our lovely companions again. Usually in a series when we are reuniting with characters that we already know, we get some establishing scenes of what their lives have been like without them. And then they reunite in this big old scene, and it's usually pretty good. So how do these scenes fare up? Very poorly. Ryan's is just him lying to his stupid friend. Yaz's is a clusterfuck of a fit sister wanting Ryan's number, implying some kind of crush between the two that is never brought up or mentioned again. Her dad being a stupid boomer and her mum nagging her. We're off to a great start. Then Graham's is just, hey guys, remember Grace died last series? However, admittedly when they pick up the doctor, Graham gets in a good line.
Boss, I'm waiting for my mates.
Your friends are inside the car.
Worst Uber ever!
Little did I know that this would be one of the very few episodes this series where Graham was likeable. However, that one quick glimmer of hope was then crushed by this shitty car scene. Totally not ripped off from the Sontaran stratagem, except in the Sontaran stratagem, it actually leads somewhere and has some impact on the story. Whereas here, it just feels like an absolute waste of time with the lamest excuse in the books. After that shite scene where we get possibly one of the worst moments from 13, right up there with ignoring Graham's worries about his cancer.
Don't be ridiculous, Franklin. I've read the files. The doctor is a man.
I've had an upgrade.
I fucking despise this shit, because not only is it irritating as fuck, not only is this blatantly sexist, but if the roles were reversed, everyone would fucking outrage. If I ever got my dream job of becoming the 14th Doctor and someone said, were you a woman in the past, and I went, nah, I've had an upgrade, I would get fucking cancelled! But most importantly, we all know that the 13th Doctor would be better if she got an actual upgrade to a Cyberboy. Then again, the Cybermen in the series are just laughably shit, so maybe not. You know what else is laughably shit? Telling us this girl has had her DNA rewritten and not showing us any evidence of how this conclusion was made. Come on, even the Lazarus experiment did this in a more interesting way. And it's the fucking Lazarus experiment! This scene is so irrelevant as well because they just instantly move on. It just seemed like they wanted that shot of Stephen for the trailers and nothing else. Even the companions just don't give a shit about this fucking corpse in front of them. Remember that excellent scene in Oxygen where 12, Bill and Nardole find that corpse being forced to stand up because of the suit and Bill wants them to lie down and you can see that it's actually making her uncomfortable just being in there with it? Or that fucking fantastic scene at the end of the Fires of Pompeii when Donna wants the Doctor to save some people's lives? If this happened in the Chibnall era, none of the companions would give a shit. God, I miss when companions felt like actual people. Even Clara in Series 7 felt like a person, she was just an unlikable person. Back to Spyfall Part 1, we get introduced to our gadgets of ridiculous nature, which I like. But then we just get this boring explanation of Lenny Henry. I mean, wasted talent number 456's company. Prepare for a lot of complaints of boring explaining because that's the majority of this shit episode. Also, we get confirmation from the Doctor that Unit is still shut down and Torchwood is gone. What the fuck? I'm not gonna act as if I know anything about Big Finish because I haven't even listened to it, and I don't really have plans to. But I highly doubt it ended its series by destroying Torchwood. How fucking stupid would that be? And let's just say Big Finish isn't canon. It isn't. Surely Torchwood has been rebuilt, and even if it hasn't, what the fuck has Jack been doing the entire time then? Has he just been going around in space for the last 10 years? Knowing Chibnall, the thing is, we won't even get an explanation of how he got there. And before I go back to Spyfall, let's just think, because I never thought of this until someone pointed it out to us. How the fuck does Jack know about the lone Cyberman? They didn't explain how the Master came back. I highly doubt they're gonna explain how Jack came back and where this is in his timeline and what the fuck has he been doing. After destroying my hopes and dreams of Torchwood returning, we get more cringe from 13.
Kisses. It's quite French, that, isn't it? Kisses.
Just think that someone actually wrote this and considered it good. Then after that joke, Stephen Fry kills himself and adds himself onto the list of wasted talent. I seriously can't believe that they got Stephen Fry into Doctor Who and then gave him a role this minimal. And they didn't even reference like River Song or anything, like... Oh, this show's so fucking incompetently made now, my god.
King had reflex.
Oh, so many times I married the diamond.
So you say.
Elizabeth I.
Ramon.
Marilyn Monroe.
Stephen Fry.
Cleopatra.
Same thing.
Then the shameless boneless come out of the walls and we see the upgraded TARDIS. This is a massive improvement from the shit we got in Series 11, and they really make the TARDIS seem more pleasing this series. The Doctor then proves her bias to women as she ignores Graham twice and immediately acknowledges the threat when Yaz says it. Obviously, this is subtle targeting from Chris Chibnall telling us that men are bad and women are good. And he is just subtly trying to undermine men and belittle them, despite being one himself. Either that or it's just a shit scene, you be the judge. And then we actually see the fam split up. And this was a really good idea. We could finally get some character from Ryan and or Yaz. Unfortunately, we get what happens a lot this series, and that's trying to make Ryan funny. Unfortunately, Ryan is the most boring flat cardboard to ever exist. So even if you give him funny lines, they never work because of the delivery. And the scenes with Lenny just feel a bit pointless, and just felt like an excuse to get Ryan and Yaz to his house. All they really do is establish that 7% of them isn't human. However, like with that dead bitch in the beginning, they only tell us, never show us. And the scenes with 13 and Graham, while less stuffy, are still just a bit shit. Sacha performs O in the most boring, flat and empty way possible, making him just seem like another Chibs tag-along. This fails in comparison to the other Master reveals because even before the Doctor knew who they were interesting people. Professor Yana was a scientist trying to save all humanity from the end of time itself, and he was a likeable and charismatic person and also extremely well performed. Missy was shown throughout all of Series 8, and even before the Doctor knows who she is, she's an interesting character, and we get the sense that there's something not quite right with her, making the reveal all the more impactful. The reveal of the Sim Master is one of the best scenes in the show's history. We get built up about this mystery of this random creepy fuck who's been manipulating Bill for 10 years, and then it leads to the reveal that it is John fucking Sim. Fucking yes! The reveal of Sacha being the Master plays it off as if it's as clever as these other scenes, when it really isn't. The only hint we get at his identity is that he says the word Master. Fucking hell, what a twist! I'll make sure in the future when I watch a series of Doctor Who, whenever someone says the word Master, in any context, I'll know. That's the Master. With John Sim's reveals, there's not that much building up to it until he gets the scene with Missy, and the dialogue in that scene is fucking geniusly written. You get all these hints. He says, "You don't remember me, do you? You don't remember being before, do you?" Every single other line spoken from this John Sim in disguise gives you more and more and more and more until the climax of...
Of course, they are rather necessary when you happen to be someone's former prime minister. Hello, Missy. I'm the Master. I'm very worried about my future. Give us a kiss.
I'll talk more about Sacha's terrible reveal later. While the villains look cool being completely white, I feel they looked a lot scarier from just taking the environment before. At this point, I just wish there were the boneless instead of these things. Also, the scariness level drops even further the second they talk. The boneless were scarier because they were more visually interesting and they didn't say a word throughout the whole episode. Also, a quick nitpick / suggestion for the scene where Yaz and Ryan are almost discovered. Don't you think it would be funny if they started standing up as Barton said, "Show yourself," and then when the poor man's boneless show up, they quickly get back down? Then again, I'm asking for comedy in the Chibnall era, I don't know what I was expecting. The scene after that is so fucking dumb as well. Like 1 second after Barton leaves, Yaz screams, Ryan shouts and almost shows some emotion, but apparently in this supposedly empty building, Barton didn't hear a thing. Wah wah. The green place where she was teleported was kind of visually appealing, but Mandip's acting lets this scene down. And her talking to herself is so unsubtle. It's like Chips is saying to us, "Look guys, Yaz is scared." Like, come on, we could guess that from her acting, you fucking moron. These scenes would be so much more impactful if they were dead silent with no shitty music and dialogue. After an actually decent scene between Ryan and Yaz, which I do quite like, we get another scene with O that I don't like. It's just more boring exposition. Seriously, these scenes are so dialogue heavy and not very interesting dialogue. Generic dialogue. You could put this dialogue in any shitty or generic spy story and it would fit right in. After one of the most overdramatic reactions to the TARDIS I've seen in my life, we get more trailer bait scenes. With, for once, actually decent music. Congrats Segan, you've made one good track. But even then, it feels completely out of place because it's just a shot of walking, and not an impactful shot of walking like in the RTD era or the Moffat era. Oh my god, I miss Murray Gould so much, man, you don't understand. Murray Gould could give some irrelevant pieces of shit like The Future Kind some fantastic music, and Segan can't even give the fucking master good music. Back to Spyfall Part 1, and the scenes here are fucking shit. Despite supposedly blending in, they all do a terrible job and act like fucking morons. The only one who does anything of note is the Doctor confronting Barton when he's alone at his own birthday party. As you do. And this scene ends terribly. It basically just ends with the Doctor being threatened by Barton, making it look like she loses completely. Could you actually imagine the four gods being threatened by anyone? Hell, they are usually the one given threats.
No. I said no.
What is the meaning of this negative?
It means no. I'm gonna rescue her. I'm gonna save Rose Tyler from the middle of the Dalek fleet, and then I'm gonna save the Earth, and then, just to finish off, I'm gonna wipe every last stinking Dalek out of the sky!
God, I miss Chris. Then after that we get another shitty scene on these bikes which look fucking dreadful. Also, the spy music is at least played appropriately here, but this scene is so fucking bad. It just feels like even more filler to an already long episode. Seriously, for a story this long, there's so many scenes of irrelevant bullshit. You can tell that Chibnall wanted to make Spyfall Part 2 be the first episode of the series, but didn't have the balls for it, so you had this to attempt to ease in the viewers, even though this episode is completely irrelevant filler. Also, bullshit could Barton not hit at least one of these twats. Honestly, bikes were better utilised in the Bells of St. John than this. And the Bells of St. John absolutely fucking sucks, but at least they have a purpose. Well, you wanna know what these bikes were used for? Filler and trailer bait. Again! And then we are bombarded with so much shit, it's fucking... aww. So first, they all chase the plane to get on it. This is fine, but how fucking unfit is this master if he's getting outran by Bradders? Barton casually flies his own private jet, as a billionaire does. And then we get the scene that absolutely kills this episode. For some reason, in O's files it says that he's a champion sprinter. Absolutely useless bit of information for a fired spy. But this stupid detail is the one that catches out the master. For God's sake! And this is where Sacha's performance goes from boring to fucking insufferable. These less than 5 minutes are absolutely fucking atrocious to sit through. I've explained earlier why this reveal playing itself as being clever is fucking stupid. But this scene is so fucking self-righteous in thinking it made this smart decision, it pisses me off to no end. Also, Jodie's surprised acting in this scene is fucking dreadful.
Yeah, but it's not a watch, it's this chameleon thing.
No. It's this thing, this device. It rewrites biology. Changes a Time Lord into a human.
And it's the same watch.
Can't be. What did he say, Mother? What did he say?
He looked at the watch like he could hardly see it, like that perception filter thing.
What about now? Can you see it now? Let me in! Let me in!
She's dead.
I broke the lock. Give me a hand. I'm begging you. Everything's changed. It's only the two of us. We're the only ones left. Just let me in.
The master? Now could I?
Oh.
Doctor.
He can't be.
Oh, I can't.
Also, despite finding out he's a danger, not one of the fam tried to restrain him. And don't try to argue that none of the fam could restrain this 5'7" skinny rat. Ryan fucking towers over him and is clearly well built. They even get a cringy joke about how well built he is in Praxeus.
You work out?
I do a lot of running.
Even Yaz or Graham could have done something, but they do jack shit! I guess if they saw John Sim run past them in Last of the Time Lords, they would just let him go. Also, the Master apparently took O's identity. No explanation is given on how he did this. Also, he used tissue compression! Remember tissue compression! God, I'd never think something in Classic Who is actually done worse in New Who. In The Deadly Assassin, we see tissue compression done to much more of an effect, because everyone seems to shake around it. And it isn't tried to be made into a stupid quirky joke by the worst master to ever disgrace the screen!
Lots of fun.
How is this even real? Also, there's a bomb in the cockpit for some reason. Listen, I stopped giving a shit the second the worst performance I'd seen in my life started.
Do you really think that I would not make that sonic proof, Doctor? Come on!
How the fuck? What the fuck? Who hired you? Then, after more cringe, he gives us the cocktease line, then no clips away. Then the episode ends. What an absolute fucking shit show. So that was Ballfall Part 1, and my god, this is so much worse than I remember. There is so much stupid shit in this episode. There is so much filler in this episode. God, it's such an absolute fucking bore. There is absolutely nothing I would ever want to rewatch in this episode. And the new master is fucking terrible. Hyperactive John Simclone that makes me want to die. There's so much boring fucking exposition in this episode, it makes it a chore to sit through. The whole time I was watching this episode, I was just thinking of all the other things I'd rather be doing. Like sleeping. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, please help. The jokes in this episode are fucking dreadful. And the second they arrive at Lenny, shit completely hits the fan. It goes from an absolute bore to an absolute mess instantly. This is the worst series opener in the revival. But it was merely the calm before the storm of this dreadful series. Up next...